leaders must lead. You cannot lead unless you're future oriented. Leadership is about the future.
Coimbatore Krishnarao Prahalad was an illustrious alumnus of Loyola College, Chennai. Prahalad graduated in physics from Loyola College and then pursued his master's in management at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He later went to Harvard Business School to obtain a doctoral degree in business administration. Prahalad then worked as a distinguished professor at the Stephen M. Ross School of Business, University of Michigan. Professor C.K. Prahalad has been counted as one of the top management thinkers in every major survey for over 10 years. Winner of many honors. In 2009, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan by the Government of India. He was also the winner of the Global Indian Award at the Economic Times Awards for Corporate Excellence in 2004. Dr. Prahalad has consulted with the top management of many of the world's foremost companies. He served on the board of NCR Corporation, Hindustan Lever, TVS Capital Funds, and the World Resources Institute. A visionary, management guru, academician, and a creative and influential business thinker, Dr. Prahalad became famous for the thinking in his book, The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. That was the basis for a restructuring of the Tata companies that he advised the Tata Group on. His research specialized in corporate strategy and the role and value added on top management in large diversified multinational corporations. In recent years, he has turned to work on sustainability and how that can give a competitive advantage to many companies. He had the rarest of combinations, deep insights coupled with compassion and practical relevance. His path was not one filled with trivial academic articles, but one of big ideas that moved leaders, academics, and the world. He had immense love for India and passion to make India a great nation. C.K. Prahalad Center for Emerging India will try to make his spirit live in Loyola campus through research in innovative practices, social entrepreneurship, helping the poor and the marginalized, cherishing the values he cherished and living them.
So let me give you some broad framework on what India at 75 could be. You have to have universal literacy and world-class people, either professionally, they can be employed anywhere in the world, either here or abroad. And why is it so interesting? Because we have a huge demographic advantage, which is underexploited. And most of the developed countries have a huge demographic disadvantage. If you look at all of Europe, it's aging, Japan is aging, China will age, but certainly the United States is partly aging and partly doesn't have the skills. So if we can do this, we create India inside worldwide. That's good for India, it's good as a contribution to the world. The second, I went back and said, if in early 1800s, India represented 20% of world trade, why can't we get 10% of world trade? Why can't we create large companies which are part of Fortune 100 worldwide? Why can't we create fundamental innovations? Because if we want to educate a large number of people, if we want to provide them basic necessities, we have to innovate. I say affordability, accessibility, access, and awareness requires a different way to skin this cat than what we have done for the last 50 years or 60 years. And more importantly, and I think this was important, technological strength, economic vitality are critical, but if you want to lead, you must have moral leadership. Nazi Germany did not succeed, the Soviet Union did not succeed. So it's not enough if we have technological and economic vitality, we must show that India has moral leadership. And moral leadership assumes a prerequisite in India, which is understanding and leveraging diversity to its fullest. We have the extraordinary opportunity to show the world how we can live with people who are different, whether it's religion, language, economic strength. How can we work together? How can we leverage each other rather than just tolerate each other? And if you look at around the world, most of the conflicts are ethnic conflicts and religious conflicts. And we have had a history of understanding and coping with it. So let us put a turbocharge behind it and create a country that becomes the benchmark country for the rest of the world on how we can live in peace. That is the broad possibility that we have. Now, there must be some principles which allow us to do this. A lot of times when I say we need to get 10 Nobel Prize winners at a minimum, people say it is impossible. I said, let's go back to a recent past. In 1920s, this country had the good fortune of having Sir C.V. Raman, Chandrasekhar, Ramanujam, Meghnad Saha, Bose, phenomenal people. We had great poets and artists, Nandalal Bose to Rabindranath Tagore, and extraordinarily dream team of politicians. No country had that kind of dream team, starting from Gandhiji himself. We are only 300 million people at the time. We were excel in science, in arts, in literature, and in statesmanship. Now we can ask a question, how come 1.2 billion people cannot recreate this? So it is not deep past, it is recent past. So we need to ask that question. To start this journey, I want you to accept three principles. First, we will make a dramatic change only if our aspirations are higher than our resources. If you look at all entrepreneurial talent, innovation worldwide, it starts with somebody having an aspiration beyond the resources that they have. That was also the story of Purna Swaraj. That's why Gandhiji was able to invent Salt Satyagraha, which is an extraordinary piece of strategy and political will that allowed us to move forward. So the first principle is aspiration greater than resources. So we either change the game or leverage the resources or do both. The second, don't start from where you are. Good thinking on the future is folding the future in. Let us imagine this India and ask the question, what do we have to do today in order to see that future happen, rather than what is it that we can do given the way we are organized. And I say, if you have to break some eggs to make an omelet, so be it. But at least let us imagine what that future is. And the third, India cannot keep benchmarking others. Nobody in human history has tried this. So we have to have the confidence to say, we will create the next practice not benchmark others for best practice. That, I think, is a very critical piece. We have to experiment, we have to learn, we have to lead. We cannot follow somebody else. Looking at Singapore is a sort of a nice thing, but we have a different problem, and we have to understand how we do it differently. So 3 principles, 5 or 6 big opportunities, and then you say, what stops us from getting there? I believe there are 4 fundamental concerns that I have as one interested. One, I think we are paying too little attention to income inequalities, but income inequality is only a reflection of opportunity inequalities and inequalities in mobility for people. So I think we ought to spend as much time thinking about upward mobility and opportunity equality rather than just describe income inequality, which is a result. I believe 10 years from now, if we don't pay attention to this, and I think we call it inclusive growth, but inclusive growth must start from deep understanding and a deep concern for creating equal opportunities and equal opportunity for mobility. Income is a result of this. The second, I think, we have talked about it a lot. I did a simple analysis of looking at GDP, Human Development Index, and Corruption Index. This information is available to any of you from United Nations books and Transparency International. It doesn't have to be my work. You can go and do the regression yourself. It is quite simple. 3 things come out very clearly. No country which does not pay attention to its human resources are rich. No country which is corrupt develops its human resources. And no country that is corrupt is rich. It is 170 countries, result from 170 countries. So we have to ask the question, is corruption a matter of morality, or is corruption a matter of fundamental impediment to economic development for all people? I don't think we are resource constrained at all. And the question is, are the resources deployed appropriately? So the second issue is the quality of governance. You can call it whatever you want. I think I prefer to call a spade a spade. It is the level of corruption. And I think that's important for us to understand. It is not anymore a complaint about individuals and the system. It is a complaint about how much we leave on the table. So if we got to be reasonably honest in our public governance, we may increase our GDP by an order of magnitude between 10 and 15 trillion dollars in purchasing power parity. That is what the price we are paying for the system. The third is we might have pushed too hard on group rights and forgotten the need for individual rights. Group rights, if you push beyond a certain level, you will create the divisive forces of society rather than the unifying forces of society. So we need to ask the question, how do we create a meritocracy? Equal opportunity means individual rights are more important than group rights. I'm not saying group rights are not important. I'm saying maybe there is a time for some rebalancing. And finally, whether it's a public sector or NGO or a private sector, it does not make any difference to me. We better understand the true economic costs of what we are doing. That means transparent transactions, where the real economic implications of what we do are clearly understood.
Fortune at the bottom of the pyramid served as a catalyst to help companies look at the world's poorest in a new light. In some ways, it reinvented the concept of social entrepreneurship, which is at the heart of everything Fusion Universal does and how we do it. The bottom of the pyramid shows the 4 billion poorest people in the world. They can't access global markets, so have to pay more for products and services. Big companies don't see them as a viable market. In fact, this group actually represents the biggest market opportunity in the world if companies can offer affordable products and services more efficiently. The pyramid of global wealth shows that Tier 1 has 85% of the world's wealth, held by 20% of the population, who typically earn more than $20,000 per year. Tiers 2 and 3 represent the 1.5 billion people with incomes between $1,500 and $20,000. And the 4 billion people at the bottom survive on less than $1,500 a year. Most of today's global companies focus on Tier 1. The fortune at the bottom of the pyramid reverses the pyramid to get companies to meet the needs of the world's poorest. This means not seeing the poor as victims, but as entrepreneurs able to work in the most difficult circumstances and value-driven consumers. The focus is on inclusive capitalism, which creates mutually beneficial partnerships based on trust and respect. Until the poor can access the global economy, they won't have any real chance for sustainable development. Logic says there's no revenues to be made in developing countries, but in reality there is. Companies that benefit are the ones able to shift to lower cost production models with smaller margins and mass adoption. Take India, with 1.2 billion people and GDP per capita of around $1,000, the market opportunity is $1.2 trillion. But if you consider a dollar can buy up to 4 times more in India, the market opportunity is closer to $4 trillion. The same is true on a smaller scale in Nigeria and South Africa. By virtue of the market size alone, this is a huge opportunity. To access opportunities at the bottom of the pyramid, companies have to combine low cost, quality, sustainability, profitability, and rethink how they go to market. Unilever has done this successfully and achieved more than $6 billion annually from these markets, and in the process helped to create millions of small-scale entrepreneurs, providing people with affordable world-class products. Generally, the poor lack capital and can't access traditional routes like banks because they don't have any collateral. This means they pay huge amounts of interest to local moneylenders, making it almost impossible to generate opportunities to create wealth. If lending organizations are able to consider local customs and networks, they can provide cost-effective opportunities for the poor to generate sustainable incomes. Grameen Bank started as a small community lending organization, but now provides loans to more than 25 million people around the world and have a 95% repayment success rate. Central to their success was their ability to focus on local solutions and networks. Global companies aren't good at accessing local markets in rural areas, but there are creative local companies that are building distribution models to reach these areas. For example, in Africa, it was the global telecommunications companies that introduced networks to the large coastal cities, but it was the local companies that were able to expand these services to reach millions of rural poor by using existing local distribution networks. This not only provides income for the companies, but also provides much-needed service for the poor rural communities. To generate wealth from the bottom of the pyramid, companies can't rely on the same products and business models they use for developed markets. They need products specifically for the poor, with profits based on big volumes, not big margins. This means the new business and production models have to be scalable and easily localized. For example, Unilever realized that the poor don't buy in bulk from supermarkets, so they created single-use packets for local markets. Because they're buying smaller amounts on a daily basis, products have to be high quality to be successful. Unilever realized they need a high-quality, low-cost product distributed through local markets to achieve success in developing countries. To develop and organize markets, companies have to work in partnership. Empowering the poor through access to buying power, better choice, and opportunities can threaten existing local power structures, and opposition can develop quickly. Companies that build a local base of political support stand a much better chance of long-term success. Creating a coalition of non-government organizations, community leaders, and local authorities is important. These partnerships can leverage local knowledge and insights to help develop sustainable businesses. Working through local partners is important because you have to integrate local practices into your business. Understanding existing practices can also lead to innovative new products and services. It's the big companies that need to lead these new partnerships. Building new markets requires capital to build infrastructure. Companies can use their experience to build capacity and transfer knowledge. Companies act as a bridge to unite these new partnerships, and they're in a great position to transfer any new innovations back to the Tier 1 markets. Fortune at the bottom of the pyramid has had a huge impact, as can be seen by the number of graduate and MBA programs that now cover these principles. The book was one of the first to look at more sustainable paths at reducing poverty. Ultimately, this is only a piece of the development puzzle. It doesn't have all the answers. But it does introduce the concept of dignity and choice as important factors to consider when providing products for developing countries. It also introduces the notion that companies' responsibilities towards their customers go beyond just the production and sale of goods. Fusion's social enterprise works within the core principles of inclusive capitalism, taking the best of the corporate methods and tools to provide world-leading learning solutions in developing countries. By working with local partners, we aim to provide equal access to quality learning at the lowest possible cost to millions of young people, while providing sustainable opportunities for our partners to generate income and grow their local networks. At the same time, providing access to high-quality learning tools builds critical skills for the next generation to access opportunities in the 21st century workforce.
சுய உதவிக்குழு திட்டம் மீது வங்கதேச பெண்களின் நம்பிக்கை கிராமின் வங்கியானது. ஆவணமில்லா அலைச்சலில்லா கடனும் கெடு காலத்தில் வசூலும் நம்ப முடியாத உண்மை. அறிவியலாளர் கருத்துக்களை குறைந்தபட்சம் கல்லூரி மாணவர்களாவது நம்ப வேண்டாமா? 2050களிலே சூரிய ஒளியை தவிர வேறு ஆற்றல் இல்லை என்பதை மாணவர்கள் நம்ப வேண்டும். முழுமையான சூரிய ஒளியை நம்பிய ஒரு வாழ்க்கை சூழலை திட்டமிட்டு அதிநவீனம் என அதற்கு பெயரிடுங்கள். ஆண்டிற்கு 1000 மாணவர்களை இணைத்து டாக்டர் ஏபிஜேயின் புறா திட்டத்திற்கு உயிர் கொடுங்கள். பள்ளி, கல்லூரி, பணியிடம், வாழ்விடம் நடந்து செல்லும் தூரத்தில் அமைவதே அது. நேர்மையுடன் மனிதநேயத்தை புகட்டும் கல்வி பெற்ற 5 கோடி தலைவர்கள் உலகின் தேவை என்கிறார் சி.கே. பிரகலாத். அடுத்த 30 ஆண்டுகளிலே உயர உள்ள 500 கோடி மக்களை உள்ளடக்கி திட்டமிட்டால் அனைத்தும் மலிவாகும். அரசோ, என்ஜிஓக்களோ, தனியாரோ யாருக்கு இந்த உண்மைகள் பிடிபடுகிறதோ அவர்கள் இதை முன்னெடுக்க வேண்டும். WRI அதற்கு துணை புரியும் சி.கே. பிரகலாத். 2020-2022 வல்லரசு இந்தியா. இரு நாயகர்களின் கனவின் சரத்துக்களே இவை. டாக்டர் ஏபிஜி அண்ட் டாக்டர் சி.கே.பி. அதிநவீனத்தின் 6 உன்னத லட்சியங்கள். 15 வரை டிவி, செல்போன் தவிர்த்த வளர்ப்பு. குழந்தை முதல் முதியோர் வரை தனிமை தவிர்த்தல். தனி குடும்ப சுதந்திரம், கூட்டு குடும்ப பாதுகாப்பு, புவி வெப்ப நிலநடுக்க அபாய பாதுகாப்பு, இயற்கை வாழ்வியலை நோக்கிய மீள் பயணம், ஏழைகளுக்கும் உலகத்தரமான சுக வாழ்வளித்தல். நன்றி, வணக்கம். ஆர். வேணுகோபால், வங்கி வேளாளர், பணி நிறைவு.